Good day, we are the Group 1, and today we are going to report environmental problems regarding natural disaster pollution.
The Philippines is one of the most vulnerable to natural disasters, mainly due to its geographical location as it stands along the Pacific Ring of Fire. In recent years, our country experienced thousands of catastrophes with the likes of the 1990 Luzon earthquake, the 1991 Mount Pinatubo eruption, and the infamous Super Typhoon Haiyan, aka Super Typhoon Yolanda in 2013. These are just a few of the natural disasters that made a huge historic impact on the Philippines during the last decades. Hundreds of thousands of lives and billions worth of economic resources were lost during these times. But regardless of the experiences and trauma these disasters brought to our countrymen, we still move forward as we prepare ourselves for more continued risks of natural disasters caused by global changes in climate, economic volatility, and many more. Us Filipinos choose to keep moving forward as these are natural occurrences that no man and woman can manipulate or control.
The country of the Philippines stands along the Pacific Ring of Fire, which makes it a favorable place for natural disasters. Five catastrophes occur frequently in the country, and these are drought, flood, earthquakes, landslides, and volcanic eruptions. Considering the Philippines' geographical location, it is not very surprising why these naturally occurring disasters are very common and experienced many times throughout the year.
I'm Samuel Philip Esquerra, and we will be discussing about drought. A prolonged absence of precipitation, such as rain, snow, or sleet, is what is known as drought and causes water scarcity. Droughts are natural occurrence, but human action, including the usage and management of water, can make the situation worse. Drought poses many and far-reaching health implications. What is the effect of drought to our water supply? Reduced river and stream flows can increase water pollution levels and induce stagnation. Lower, ex- Lower oxygen levels are caused by warmer lake and reservoir water. Fish, other aquatic life, and water quality may be impacted at these levels. Here are some illustrations of the effect of drought to our water supply. Next, drought to food nutrition. Drought can shorten the growing season and make crops more susceptible to pest and disease infestation. Low crop yields might cause food shortages and price increases, which could end in malnutrition. Here are some illustrations of how drought affects our food nutrition. And lastly, drought to air quality. Drought often come with dusty, dry weather and wildfires that can be harmful to health. Pollen, smoke, and fluorocarbons are just a few of the particles that are present in the air due to fire, dry soil, and vegetation. These compounds have the potential to aggravate lung and bronchial irritation, aggravating chronic respiratory condition including asthma, acute including asthma, acute respiratory infection like bronchitis and bacterial pneumonia may also become more common as a result.
What is a flood? A rising and overflowing of a body of water, especially onto a normally dry land. The flood inundated the whole area. Throughout the history of manlife, rivers provide food, fresh water, and fertile land for farming. It is not surprising that they have played a significant role in human history. Water can be a destructive force even though it is necessary for life. Flooding is one of the most common types of natural disaster, and the results are often fatal. For example, in the recent event of flood in the Philippines at August 5, 2022, in Valencia City, Burisan, experienced heavy rain brought about by low pressure area. Several barangays have been reported to were flooded and experienced landslide. This caused partially to totally damaged houses, were 687 families affected, 2,860 individuals affected, 5 totally damaged houses, and 5 partially and 7 partially damaged houses. Such is the effect of the natural disaster known as flood. there are a lot of distractions floods can bring to nature as well as to humanity, such as floods cause sedimentation and erosion. In addition to changing the landscape, floodwaters can also cause riverbanks to erode and collapse. Sediment becomes suspended in the water as floodwaters carry debris from the eroded banks, which can deteriorate water quality and cause harmful algae blooms. In a process known as sedimentation, suspended sediment eventually settles out of the water, clogging riverbeds and streams, suffocating aquatic organisms, and destroying habitats. Ecosystems that have already undergone significant degradation or modification are more adversely affected by erosion and sedimentation. Floods carry contamination. Pollutants like sewage, industrial chemicals, debris, and pesticides used on farms can contaminate floodwater. Contaminated floodwater that makes its way into the ocean can degrade the water's quality and upset delicate ecosystems like coral reefs. Floods spread diseases. The majority of infectious disease outbreaks associated with weather occur because of floods. Waterborne illnesses like cholera and hepatitis A are more likely to spread when there is flooding. Floodwaters that have receded can leave behind pools of stagnant water that serve as the ideal habitat for mosquitoes that spread diseases like malaria.
I am Lorenzo Trinidad, and now we will be talking about earthquakes. First, let's start by defining what is an earthquake. An earthquake is defined as an intense shaking of the planet's surface caused by the movements in its outermost layers. This event occurs by a sudden slip on a fault due to the continuous movement of tectonic plates. An earthquake intensity can range from 1, not felt, to 10, which is referred to as extreme. This natural disaster could also be a major factor that causes landslides, tsunamis, and even ground, air, and water pollution. Now, let's talk about earthquake and its effect on air quality. Dust is the primary cause of earthquake-related air pollution. Dust is loosened and propelled into the air by the earthquake's vibrations that strikes homes and structures. Sediments can be disturbed by tectonic changes and exposed to the air, where they stay as particles for days or more. In the next slide, we can see two images of dust being emitted from buildings after being affected by an earthquake. Now, raw water quality. An influx of sediments from the surrounding area might affect the water quality for surface and groundwater systems when an earthquake significant shaking occurs. Sediment particles may release nitrate and arsenic chemicals into well supplies. Bacterial contamination of raw water sources could pose as an extra concern. Additionally, groundwater wells may experience changes in water level near or far from the epicenter of the earthquake. The water level may rise to the point when water starts to flow at the land surface, or it may fall until the well runs empty. The image you can see here is water contaminated which spreads after an earthquake occurs. And that's all for earthquakes.
Next is landslide, a natural disaster that causes environmental problem pollution. A landslide is a downhill movement as a deposit of mass of rock, debris, or earth down a slope with involvement of forced gravity and friction. The two categories of landslide are shallow landslide that is rooted on the soil layer and is fast moving down, and a deep-seated landslide that is slow moving down. This disaster landslide can be caused naturally or by humankind. Natural disasters such as earthquakes and volcanic eruption trigger landslides to happen. The Philippines have reported about 11 deadly landslide disasters over the past years, with the recent one in Itogon, Benguet, with the strongest tropical cyclone year 2018 being its primary cause. It affects at least 58 people who are found dead and brings environmental stress all over Cordillera region. Landslide affecting bodies of water. Any landslide has a long-term effect on bodies of water. Large landslides often block river valleys. It brings contaminants to surface water caused by the release of contaminants from the broken sewages, propane, and other chemicals occurring beneath the landslide runout deposit. Excess sediment can pollute streams and transport along with flowing water to many different bodies of water, causing water pollution that makes water resources unusable for people and can be destruction to biodiversity. Here is example of river blockage caused by landslide. Landslide affecting soil fertility. Landslide occurs mainly in mountains and hill areas. It impacts the soil deficit, sediment transportation, and accumulation occurring during the downfall, and soil material mixing changes soil quality and characteristics. Organic matter of soil and plant nutrition decreases in affected areas such as forests and agricultural grasslands.
For the natural disaster number 5, I will be discussing volcanic eruption and its effects. What is a volcanic eruption? A volcanic eruption occurs when lava and gas are released from a volcano. It is one of the most destructive natural disasters that may occur, and its effects are devastating. First effect is volcanic eruption to health. Volcanoes spew hot gases, and it is so toxic because it contains mostly carbon dioxide and sulfur. Volcanoes emits ashes which is abrasive. When inhaled, it can cause respiratory conditions such as asthma, emphysema, and chronic lung diseases. Gases traveling from volcano is dangerous if inhaled. It can cause headache, dizziness, and swelling of throat. Next effect is volcanic eruption to our water supplies. During volcanic eruption, ash falls spew all over the places, including our water sources. Ashfall contains mixture of rock, mineral, and glass particles, and the particles are less than 2 millimeter in size. And when it comes contact with water sources, it can be dangerous. Another effect is ashfall could block waterways and it can cause temporary water interruption. And worst case scenario, it can cause floods. Last effect is volcanic eruption causing erosion. During volcanic eruption, lahar flow could happen. Lahar flow is slurry looking wet concrete and it is the mixture of water, pyroclastic materials, and asphalt. Lahar flow gains momentum and speed as it comes down. And when lahar flow comes down, it destroys everything on its path, like house, properties, vegetation, animals, and it also causes human deaths. That's all, thank you.
Conclusion. It is impossible to stop the catastrophe, tragedy, disaster, or calamity changes, but people still can reduce, slow down, and be prepared for the upcoming situation. If there is no interaction, this problem will soon be killed from the change in climate and natural disasters. Humans were the one who changed the world, and now it is time for humans to change themselves. Calamities are neither natural nor the consequences of people's inadequate behavior in facing natural hazards. Rather, disasters reflect people's vulnerability or their susceptibility to be affected when confronted with floods, volcanic eruptions, landslide, or other potential harmful natural phenomena. Yet, those who suffer from disasters are not helpless victims. They display a large array of knowledge, skills, and resources that constitute useful capacities in times of hardship. These capacities have to be utilized to reduce the risk of disaster. Similarly, people are often resilient and able to overcome the damage of disaster should recover policies consider their needs and contributions. Vulnerability capacities and resilience are therefore essential concepts for fully appraising people's response, readiness, and understanding to disasters.
Hello, I'm Harold Maylum, and I will be discuss the recommendation for natural disasters. For the recommendations, in order to mitigate the effects of these natural disasters, the following individuals need to perform their roles and responsibilities. First, the government. They have the power and they hold the biggest responsibility of planning and supporting hazard mitigation in these natural disasters. They need to have efforts and take further action by recognizing and improving prevention and mitigation while maintaining the law and order to reduce the problems faced by the citizens. So next, the citizens. As an individual, we also take part in reducing risks and damages that may harm other people and our surroundings. It is never too late to make changes, whether it is small or big. So the most important is that we are aware about these emergencies or natural disasters, so we can also lessen the burden to the government. So next, for engineers, since they are responsible for design and structures, so they should be updated in order to find ways and minimize damages and improve the safety standards of the people. Why they need to ensure the carefully assess every inch of details of their works. So next, for building owners, aside from ensuring the satisfaction of their clients, they also need to be responsible in the quality of their building. So they should not go for cheap materials and low cost of workers. So they need a professional in order to assess in in any possible risks or damages that may affect the workplace and the people. So next is engineering students. Engineering students, they also play a vital role in reducing these natural disasters, since they will become the professionals in future. So that's why proper and quality education is important. Every student should be provided and have a right in education. Next, the researchers, they can spread awareness in inform people on the um they can spread awareness from people, or to inform the people on the what's the best possible solution, so we can apply to minimize these damages, and they should observe if there are any changes in events, so it will help to people to prepare for whatever may happen, so in the future. So lastly, the Department of Trade Industry. Local government, they need to access to structures all over the country. So to ensure that people are not using cheap materials substitutes, since it is will not just put thousands of life risk, but it will also cost them more, since it will not be stable enough to last longer. In short, we all have a responsibility in making changes or change and reducing the risk of these natural disasters.